my friends, I'm Rick and you're none. I got Fluffer over here. He's now checking out the cat box. That'll be nice. So, when is it okay to parody people, strangers, family, friends, as characters in your game? There are a lot of people that believe that's not cool. It's not a good idea. It's not funny. There's some questionable moral behind some of that. Now, what do I mean by that? What am I asking? Okay, trying to come up with creative or clever characters, whether we're talking player or non-player characters, can be a challenge for many people. Sometimes we can do it with just little quirks. We know somebody who has a way of talking, and we're just going to use that way of talking because that sets our character apart from all the other characters at the table and the other ones that we like to play. Sometimes sustaining that kind of is hard. It's not everybody can do it. Yes, Missy? Yes, that's Fluffer. You be nice. And start hissing at each other. One, you'll be going back out the room. I got the door open a little bit. Trying, like I said, I want all these cats to learn to get along. They don't always get along. So, while I was working on my would-be game system many years ago, and I had quite a few player guys helping me out, they sit there and we were playing by post because we didn't have the luxury of the options to sit down at a table on a regular basis to try to do this stuff. And the whole basis for my Stellar Frontier game is for solo play in the first place. Reality is you can play it as a group and with others, but it's just how you approach it. And the one way we approached it was having literal role playing taking place between our fictional characters and our fictional settings. And this led to some pretty interesting side stories, and for some players. My friend Shannon, for example, his turn would often consist of 20 to 30 pages of dialogue and interaction. So we would work on this through posts, and I would just compile them together, and we'd have this overview for each cycle. And irony of ironies, if you get 50 or 60 of those things, suddenly you got a novel. And at that point, it's not too hard to just go back in and kind of smooth out the edges and edit some things and change some things, add a few things. So there's this arc where one of the House Lord's offspring, one of his children, goes off on an adventure, and he's off on his own, which is for his age is considered insane, especially since he's the blood of a noble house, even stupider. But he's got some guardians and some protectors that are lurking in the shadows, and it allowed for the player to get a better view and grip of his world and the genome of the aviaries that he created. So amongst that, I wanted him to his little buddy to have a bodyguard, but we didn't just want to assign one to him. So we knew of another person. And this fellow's name is John. I won't list his last name, but a big, tall fellow. He's like 6'4", lanky as all get out, and he's disabled in a way. And I never was sure. I talked to him quite a bit, but I never asked him what the disability was. So when he walks, it's very chunky and lurchy. And it's like a forward stomp because he leans into it. It's kind of, and he's always it's not this always twitching stuff because he don't twitch when he's standing still, but gets up and he really needs to have canes or something. Okay, as long as you guys are on each side of the door, we won't have no problems. Right? You keep it on that door, doofer. So. John, very nice character. He also had this kind of way of talking because it was a bit like Forrest Gump in some ways. So we all knew he was eventually challenged, as long as physically challenged. But from a character perspective, I thought here's an idea. So the basic bio was Big John is a bullman, a turn. This is a genome that's a lot like a Minotaur. It was a failed military super soldier project from some guild or great house, lineage several thousand years in the past, and he's almost 7'3" or 4", something like this. Weighs damn near 300 pounds, but he still looks skinny and lanky because he's huge. He's got a big torso, and he's got a horn. One's broken off, and he's got tape holding it on, and the other one, so he's got that big bull man, human bull man minotaur kind of a physique. He was grown up in the streets, was very poor, became an enforcer for a local gang, and then moved up, if you will, to a bigger gang. And he reached a certain age where the people he was working for or working with decided he would be a great candidate for cybernetic enhancement. So an already bruiser of a genome, already quite capable brawler, is going to get superpowered. So they install a full body reflex and strength enhancement implants, and then they also install a neural implant. Now, neural implant is like the cell phones and laptops of that era. It's all, we envision that today. That's pure cyberpunk. It's where you got a little jack in your head, you can jack in, but the computer is part of your brain. So you can communicate with the local nexus, you can access information, you can, inside your head, you can, access it like you're accessing a computer, and all the things that go along with this. The standard surgery for that is quite easy. The full body stuff, it's a little bit more extensive. And the problem being is, though, a lot of this stuff is blacklisted by the Imperium government, so you're not allowed to just, unless you have damn good reason. So street gang people aren't likely to get this unless they go to a shadow doc, somebody who works out of the shadows. And if anybody's ever played Shadowrun or Cyberpunk or anything, you know damn well what I'm talking about. So John goes through all this process. The problem is the technology was flawed, or the person putting it in wasn't the top of the barrel. Just think about that. Something a lot of people don't want to consider. Every year, a whole lot of doctors graduate from long years of study and internship. But if you have the cream of the crop, you have the dregs of the bottom. Because there's still people passing that barely eke by. They either fake it and they make it, or they get past the system or whatever. So there's that. You have to keep that in mind. Where do those doctors end up? And are you seeing that one? Are they the bottom of their class? That doesn't mean that they're not capable, but anyway. So he gets some dodgy cyber installation involved, and it fries his brain. It just messes his brain up. So now he's really slow and takes a while to think about things, and he doesn't think about things overly hard, but he can see through a wall if you give him enough time. And then his body implants are successful, but they came with a cost, and that it screwed up his coordination and his motive synapses. So when he walks and moves, it's a lot chunkier and funkier. And some people will say, well, you're making fun of the disabled. Yeah, maybe you can do that. But for me, this created a very vivid character for my friend's immersion into the game and into the what we called storyline, but the events that took place that kept following. And the introduction of this character, Big John, to can't think of the young kid's name off the top of my head. The young noble's name was, the young noble ran away from the palace, ran away from home. Some pretty horrific things had happened at the house, back at the palace. The previous couple cycles, there was a terrorist group there was not terrorist group, but a strike team from from a rival house had attacked the palace, and quite a few people died. And his younger sister died, and he watched it happen, and he fled. He panicked and freaked out and fled. And then his family has a deep sense of kind of Japanese honor, kind of like Bushido. It goes with their particular their subgenome of the aviaries. They're based off of falcons, and they have this very nobilic sense of self-worth and duty. And so he's a young person, about 10, 12 years old, and an utter conflict from what happened. So he runs away, and he goes and hides in one of the worst slums or the worst sections of the capital planet, which is, horrifies his father. And his father sends some special agents out. We're going to send a whole team out to get him, and his spy mistress convinces him not to, and so she just puts a special agent to keep an eye on things. And lo and behold, the junior runs into this Big John character. And he's in an alley. You know, the kid's in the alley. He's looking up. He's potentially looking at a place to build himself a little treehouse so he can have a place to call home. And this big lurching minotaur thing comes out of the ground in the corner, scares the bejesus out of him. He jumps aside, and John doesn't even notice him that he's there. And he stumbles forward like he's drunk, and that's what a lot of people assume, that he's a terrible he's some kind of druggie or alcoholic because of how he acts and how he says things. Hey, you guys be nice. What are you doing? Okay, Missy. Oh, he just wanted to get out the door, and Missy was, okay, Missy, you're fine. Nobody bit nobody. They just acting. That's when you get two cats that ain't quite yet got to be friends, right? Okay, everybody's okay. It's okay, Missy, you're fine. You're in here with me now. Door's closed. So John lurches out of the alley and runs smack into a bus. The bus rocks. John doesn't even lurch back or anything. He just boom, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry. He apologizes to the bus. You know, leaves a freaking indentation in the side of the bus. The whole bus rocked and kept, because it was moving, and it just kept going. And John's like, oh, I'm sorry. And then he turns around, and that's when he notices the kid. So I'm just asking, you know, when is it okay? Is it okay to use your observations of real world people and real world characters and incorporate them into character development or non-player character development of your characters? I'm just curious to know, what do you think about it? Have you ever done it? Do you really think it's a bad idea? And I you know, I honestly want to hear your opinions. Anyway, I'm Rick. That is Missy down there now. Doofus just left the building. Till next time.
It just irritates me to no end.